Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel and happy Friday. We're going to continue on with our March challenge today, and this project is created with that Park Lane Woodland paper pad from Joann's. This is a very sweet chunky mini album that is a flip book with some additional fun interactive sections on the inside. It's all beautifully coordinated and there are lots of places to add pictures and journaling, so I think it was really fun to create and it went pretty quickly. So I definitely will be using this in the future for other projects. If you want to create this project as well, stick with me and we will make it together. To start my base, I have two pieces of 110-pound cardstock. They are cut to be 4 inches high. My first piece is 12 inches wide. I have it scored at 4, 4.5, 8.5, and 9.25. That's going to give us 2 spines that have plenty of room so that we can add all of our layers on the inside. And the second piece that I have is 4 inches high but 8 inches wide, and I scored it at 4. So this will be the outside cover, and I'll just go ahead now and fold right along those score lines. So I flipped that piece around, and so here is my shorter side. I want to join them to make one continuous piece, and so I have added my double-sided adhesive for this side, and I'm going to just go ahead and add my line of Tombow as well, and I'm going to bring this right up to my score line so that I can have them joined right at that crease, and then just lay that shorter section right over the top, and I can keep it nice and square and even. You see I have also added my double-sided adhesive tape to the portion here so that I can flip over the shorter side and join these together. And so what that does is it gives our front cover that double layer of the 110-pound cardstock, and so it is nice and thick and sturdy. And it also gives me a nice finished edge here where it will be most noticeable. So I've got this adhered, and I'm just going to go ahead and move along to the one that I prepared already because my glue has already set up. And the next portion I want to add are the base for those flaps. So we're going to move into a 65-pound weight cardstock for this portion, and it is still going to be 4 inches high, and my piece is going to be 11 inches wide. I have it scored at 4 and then also at 8, and you'll notice that I came in with my corner rounder and I rounded the edges that will become the top flap. So I think it will be easier to go ahead and add all of my pattern papers and cardstocks now before I add it to the base, because this is going to get quite a bit bulky. And so I'm going to start by finishing what will be the front of our flap section, and I've got my beautiful cardstock from the collection paired with a rich chocolatey brown. The base itself is going to be a 4-inch square. So my cardstock for all of the full page pieces is going to be 3 7/8 inch square, and the pattern paper is 3 3/4 inch square, and that will be for all those. It does make it very easy to cut all of the pieces, and it was a good frugal use of my 12 by 12 pattern paper. So this is going to be the front, and I want to also add a piece to finish the flap. I picked this particular pattern because I really thought that it would be perfect to write on if you want to add journaling, and it was a piece from that off-cut package, so I'm getting use from my scraps. So the pieces that are going to cover the flaps are going to be 3 7/8 inch wide for the cardstock and 2 7/8 inch high. The pattern paper is going to be 3 3/4 and then 2 3/4 high, so that we keep all of our nice borders. And I'm just going to position that. You see I did round the corners on these as well. That is not necessary, but I think it just adds a nice added extra detail. So let's go ahead and finish the inside. I picked this beautiful woodland pattern just because I liked how fresh and nature inspired it was. And so I'm just going to add these as well. And I have the same for the top. And then I picked the flap pattern just by utilizing what would have been offcut from the woodland pattern. So this is the B side, and I got use out of that. So I didn't leave much behind on that cut. I'm just going to add the inside portions with the double-sided adhesive. So we will switch back now to our combo of double-sided adhesive along with the Tombow to join these to the base, because these are all very moving parts and I want to be very secure here and have these well adhered. So let's take off that tape and add our layer of Tombow. I'm just coming in from the edge in case it squeezes out a little bit. This is a new bottle, so it wants to be a little bit more generous than the previous bottle that I had that ran out. Now remember, all of these are going to be 4 inches square, so it's just a matter of getting that lined up, and the hardest part will be to keep your fingers out of the adhesive, but just line that up to the corner and then find your edges, and that will be the best way to get that added. You'll want to go ahead and give a little bit of pressure here, and that double-sided adhesive tape will help to keep these together while the glue sets up. I have already prepared the other portion, so we'll have 3 flaps on the inside that open, and I just made them the same because I like things to match. And so I'll just go ahead and add these now as well. I might pull this just a bit closer to make it easier to see, to get that lined up. And then one last piece for the right hand side. If you can hear that noise in the background, that would be the sump pump running because it has rained for the last many days in a row. And so that is just a noise that we have learned to live with here. One more corner to corner and edge to edge. Keep your fingers out of the glue and give enough pressure to adhere that well. So now we have our 3 portions in the middle with flaps. I think you can see that if you added your journaling to the front of the flap, you could also add a picture here and then some on the inside as well. So there's plenty of room in this mini for all of the finishing details that you want to add. Now we do have a couple of surfaces left that don't have flaps, but definitely want to finish those off with this same beautiful pattern paper, and all the measurements are the same, so I just cut them all at the same time. And so here is the inside portion, and then I also want to finish the back. This is a large plaid, but I think it still looks nice even cut into smaller than 4-inch sections. It definitely has a woodland feel to it, very naturey inspired, especially when I joined it with that chocolatey brown cardstock. So the next thing you want to do is add your trim, and I'm going to use the beautiful lime juice stitch satin. This is from Really Reasonable Ribbon. I think this is the most beautiful springtime green color, and I'm using it a lot this year. It has just a fresh, clean, bright color, and so I think it goes really well with my folio today. I'm just going to snip that off. And for those who don't want to grab for the glue gun for every layer, let us go ahead and secure it temporarily with this piece of double-sided adhesive tape, and it will be well secured when I add the front cover. Someone asked me just recently why I don't put the trim underneath the back cover as well, and the simple answer to that is I just love ribbon. I think it's so beautiful and I want it to show. So if I were to hide that behind that pattern paper, it would still work, but I wouldn't see as much of that beautiful trim. So I'm going to choose to leave it out, and if you want to put it in the back of the cardstock, then you would just use the same process I did for the front, and then you will have your trim showing only on your bow, and that would be perfectly fine as well. So I think it will be easier to fold this little folio open as much as possible so that we can finish the front cover. And like I said, I'm into coordinating all the pieces that show together. So I'm just gonna continue on with this beautiful plaid and center it as best I can over top of that trim, and that is going to be sandwiched in there just fine. Now I did want to add a layering piece. There isn't a whole lot of room on a 4x4 flip book or folio, but I did want to bring in one layering pattern, and this was another good use of the offcuts from that bag. And so I just gonna cover the bottom of that. And okay, so for my focal image, I'm going to bring in another of those cut aparts from the paper pad, and there's only just a couple left that we haven't gotten into, but this one I thought would coordinate really well, and those deers are so sweet. It has a very small sentiment here. It says grateful, so I think that works for just about any occasion. And you can see that the image is quite small, and that might help me to have more space for the flower arrangement. So what I did was I just cut that down. I added the same border of that brown, and I popped all this up on a spacer. I'm going to offset this so that it is lower than center and to the right, because I have room now for a flower arrangement. And I've just paired a really large flower from Little Birdie Crafts with the leaves that came in the collection, and then some of the trimmings that I like to add, the twine and netting. So you can see, instead of pairing smaller flowers together to make a large arrangement, I just went for one really large one, and you can see how nicely that covers the top of the journal card. And it's such a good balance, I think, because this is big and chunky and that is also big and chunky. So I'm just going to add that with my hot glue, and I think that's just about all the space that we have for embellishing for the front cover. So I'm really glad the sentiment here is done in a foil, because that gives us a little bit of extra detail. So let's fold up our little mini here and tie it secure. I think if you wanted to add a couple of things on the insides of these pockets as well, it would be very easy to keep those items secure when it's tied up, because it has that front and bottom fold. So let's put a nice bow here and call our 7th project for the series done. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you let me know in the comments and give me a big thumbs up. If you're not already, you can subscribe to our channel and hit the bell notification so that you'll be alerted every time we add new content. There are links for all our socials in the description. And as always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.